Hello, Hokies Softball fans, and welcome into another virtual edition of the Hokies Softball Podcast as we record via Zoom, practicing social distancing. Evan Hughes, proud host of the Hokies Softball Podcast, on hand, coming to you from St. Cloud, Minnesota. We've got Coach Pete Demore, the head coach of the Hokies, coming to you from his South office at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Coach, good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Evan. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I like that we are repping some maroon here. You've got your maroon Masters hat on, and I've got the polo. And That's a really cool hat. You combine your love of Virginia Tech, golf, and the Masters all into one.
Yeah, well, if you've been to the Masters, you know that you go into this, like the clubhouse where they sell all the merchandise. And I was walking around last year, and I just, gave my wife the card. I said, hey, just buy whatever you want. And I was like, wow, that's a maroon Masters hat. I should have bought like 2 or 3 of them, but yeah, I got this one, and I got a lot of compliments on it so far.
And tell our viewers a little bit about the shirt that you're rocking today.
Yeah, it's I figured I was going to mix it up a little bit today. I'm usually all black and stoic and all that, and this is Coach Pete Summertime Breeze. I don't know. So yeah, this shirt, it's called Boomland or Boomtown. I don't know. I got it on the way home from the SEC tournament in probably 2015, some random fireworks shack in southern Missouri. So yeah, I figured I'd mix it up today.
Any chance we'll see you on the third base coach box next year wearing some that shirt?
Maybe, I don't know. We were kicking around the idea of having tie-dye maroon and orange shirts for fall games and auction them off or something for charity, but we'll see. That'd be a pretty good idea. It's been thought about.
Well, that's a great idea. We're appreciative of your time here as we record the final week in June. We hope everybody is doing well, staying safe. We've got some Hokies softball news to get through. We've got some awards. We're going to talk about Kaylee. Coach, I hope that you have your encyclopedia ready, and we're going to go through all the different ways we can describe her season again. We're also going to talk about Summer Collegiate Softball League. A couple of Hokies making some big statements, including last night, Madi Banks having a terrific night down in Florida. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, what's a Hokies Softball Podcast without story time with Uncle Pete and some fun questions at the end. Again, we're glad you're with us as we record the final week of June. Coach, I'll ask you again, how are you doing? How is Anna doing? How's everyone in Blacksburg?
Same old. My wife really hasn't skipped a beat since all this stuff happened. She's working from home anyway. She ended up going to Atlanta, I think, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago to see her family. So that was the first time she's been down there since I think February. And I got to stay home and take care of the pets and bond with the cats, I guess. And but other than that, I mean, it's just June's gone, and it's like, where did it go? And by this time, usually in the summer, I had been recruiting 2 or 3 trips and gone to the beach and all this stuff. And it's just like, I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. So the repetition makes for quicker days, I think. So I'm just trying to get through the day and then do the same thing tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sure your first summer, a couple of summers ago in Blacksburg compared to this year has to be just 2 different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, totally different. The first summer was just go, and here it's sit. So I'm looking forward to the times when I can travel a little bit more than what we're doing right now. And it's I've thought about this morning. As a recruiting coordinator in my previous life, I mean, I traveled so much that I got tired of it. And when I first started being the recruiting coordinator, it was fun and exciting, and it was fresh and new and all that stuff. And by the end of it, I just traveled so much that I got tired and burned out. And I think this just sitting around stuff has gotten me more excited to travel a little bit more than I had even last year. So when the gates are open, I think I'm gonna go out a little bit more than I was last year.
Let's go ahead and dive into some Hokies softball news over the last month since we've last done our last recording of the Hokies Softball Podcast. Coach, I want to start with some I feel like this is pretty big news over the last week or so. We'll start with Kaylee. D1softball.com, a very reliable, Division I softball source, naming Kaylee the top pitcher in the nation last week. Only pitcher in the country, Kaylee, to score in the 90s for all three of the analytics metrics of zone control, pitchability, and durability. We have talked about Kaylee, her season, so many times, and it just feels like something big is happening with Kaylee every time we do this podcast. What does that honor mean for her and the program, and just how proud of her for the season she had this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm of course I'm proud of her. It's just validation that the work that she puts in is proving to be worth it. So yeah, I mean, she throws strikes. She commands more than one pitch, and she can pitch all the time. So if you have all three of those, you get the analytics that you just described. So it's just another accolade for Kaylee, and I'm proud of her.
Yeah, those analytics there, those are some things that I didn't really know about that's looked about: zone control, pitchability, and durability. I feel like out of those three, and we've mentioned it, Kaylee, I feel like the one thing that many Hokies softball fans and people around the country are starting to realize, her durability, her ability to go an entire weekend series, and as you say, get better. Is that one of the best parts of her game?
Yeah, she's throwback. She's able to go day after day after day, and sometimes twice a day, and that just doesn't happen much anymore. And I think the thing that helps her the most is, like I said, she doesn't rely on one pitch. If she was just a pitcher that threw drop balls every game, I don't think she could go day to day to day. She couldn't go back to back to back. If you're sitting on the drop, and she's gonna throw a rise. If she throw a rise, she's gonna throw a drop. She's gonna flip a change in there. So she's got command of all three pitches, and that's rare even today, but it's rare from 10 years ago. A kid that has three pitches that they can command at any time. So the combination of all three of those is what makes her what she is.
I'm going to go on a quick side note here and talking about just analytics that we just mentioned here. One thing that I know Coach Sheff and Virginia Tech baseball, they've been very big on analytics, and obviously it's come into the game of baseball. In terms of what you guys do at Virginia Tech, do you guys utilize analytics, look at anything like that in terms of preparation for games?
Yeah, we do a lot. We have an analytics crew that not a lot of people know about, and they work really hard behind the scenes to give us just information. And that's what analytics is. It's a fancy word for information, and it validates what you're doing, or it can change the course pretty quick. But our kids, they're not kids, they're a lot of our PhD students. They've been a tremendous help for us since we've been here, and we're looking forward to working with them in the future.
That's really fascinating, and I'm curious by analytics too, because I feel like, Coach, I feel like analytics and how it has gotten into the games of softball and baseball, even over the last 10 years, how has it gotten bigger with technology advancements?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of information now. It's a lot of information, and information is only as good as you're able to decipher it. So if I see a launch angle that's 78 million degrees up, I mean, I just know the kid's swinging up. So it validates coaching. It validates what your eyes see. And I think there's still a tremendous market for being able to coach and being able to see things as a coach and in your experiences, how, your experiences shape what you see. So there's a lot of, it's a scary thing of, you see analytics and you see data and you coach off data. That's just half the picture. You have to be able to relate to kids. That's one of the things that I'm really working on this summer is how do I speak to players in a more personal way about coaching. So if there's, you have a certain mechanic that you want in a swing, well, what I say to Madi Banks might not resonate to Kana Davis. So you have to find out what makes people tick, and analytics doesn't do that. Analytics tells you what they're doing. It doesn't tell you how to get there.
Sure.
Makes sense.
Oh, it makes total sense.
It's a whole picture. Analytics is great, but it's it just helps you coach kids in a different way.
Thanks for that deep dive there. That's really fascinating.
That was a soapbox.
No, I love that's really interesting.
I think the pendulum swung a little bit too far in the analytics department, especially in baseball, major leagues especially. I know somebody that has a friend that's a big league manager, and you're almost afraid to use your intuition because somebody might call you and say, well, their WOBA is this against a certain pitcher. But yeah, I think this guy might have good BP today, and the other one didn't. So it's just another dynamic of coaching, I think, and I don't dislike it, and sometimes it works really well.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. I feel like we can do a full podcast on analytics if we wanted to, and how it's
good.
Sure. Let's keep talking about some awards, because who doesn't like awards, and the good news that have come out of Hokies softball here over the last month or so. Let's transition to the Virginia SID Awards. Coach, congratulations, your second Coach of the Year award. A big congrats to you, and a big congrats to so many of your players that were honored. Kaylee, the first Pitcher of the Year since Jasmine Harrell did it for Virginia Tech back in 2012. And then Kaylee Hewitt, Rookie of the Year. And I want to spend some time talking about Kaylee. We talked about her a little bit earlier back in March once the season ended, but a couple of months after the season has ended, you look back on her freshman season, of course, the Minnesota game, the big highlight for her. How would you evaluate her freshman campaign with Tech softball?
I look back and I think she embodies what I deem as a successful year, which is, for our team, a successful year is, are you better at the end than you were at the beginning? And people don't realize this. She didn't throw a lot in the fall for us. I mean, she was hurt. So when she came back in January, I mean, she was pretty much starting on ground zero. So if you look at January, if you look at September to when we ended, it's night and day. I mean, it's just it's a different player. So, she just got better and better and better. And I'm looking forward to her getting better throughout her career.
6-1 record on the year. And I think when a lot of Tech softball fans go back, think about this season, that win over Minnesota, I think it brings a smile to a lot of faces thinking about what a thrill that win was that she had a big part of.
Yeah, it was a big game, and it just proved to everybody, and I hope to herself, that she belonged to this level and she can dominate this level. So it was a big game for us, and big game for the program.
You guys also had 10 players honored on the first and the second team in the state. That's the most of any school. So again, a big congratulations to the players that were honored. And I'm sure we've talked about the state of Virginia and softball, and a couple of great programs. I'm sure that has to talking about validating, and that's a big deal, right, to have that many players on those lists.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, the state of Virginia is good for softball, and to have that many players on that list is a big accomplishment. And I got this fresh. I mean, this is off subject, but the retirement of Kathy Riley is huge for the state of Virginia. She is Virginia softball, in my opinion. She's done so well at Longwood, and I've admired her for a long time, even when I was at Mizzou. And just getting to know her the past couple of years has been a pleasure. And I hope she has a good retirement.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because she's almost just kind of been that steady Eddie staple in the state of Virginia, right?
She's a fixture. She's a fixture in our state, and I really enjoy talking to her, and we've developed, I hope, somewhat of a friendship, and I hope it continues.
I feel like too, Longwood for so long, I feel like that's a school, despite being a mid-major coach, I feel like when you go into a regional, probably has the attention of those big schools, right? For the track record that she's had there. No
question. And we played them at a tournament at NC State, I think in 2015. And you had to be ready to play them. Kathy had those kids ready all the time. They're gritty and played hard. And it was just, they were a fun program to play against.
One thing, and I don't know if she did this for every game, but a couple of years ago when Tech was at Longwood, went, and she actually coached first. And I don't know if she did that for every game or not, but she had her assistant coaching third. And I believe someone told me that she just felt like she could better help the players and be closer by the dugout to be at first. And I just always kind of admired that because you don't see that every day. And so.
No, you don't. No, you don't. I think she might have done that last year at our place. I can't remember.
Yep, that sounds right. That's right. They came to Blacksburg last year. That was a fun doubleheader, I believe, actually, late in the season before the postseason. So. Big congratulations to Kathy Riley. I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm sure she's picked up her fair share of Virginia SID awards throughout her legendary career. All right, let's talk some summer softball, Coach, because you've got 4 Hokies right now that are making an impact down in Florida. Madi Banks, Kelsey Bennett, Kelsey Brown, and Morgan Overitis. Talk about jumping right into a new school and going down to Florida. They are in the Florida Gulf Coast League. And before we talk about those individual players, this is the first summer collegiate softball league that's going on right now. How big is it for the sport and college softball to have a summer collegiate league?
Well, it's huge for the sport. It just gives young female athletes another opportunity to play, and so they can go out and hone their skills, and because for the longest time it's always been see you in the spring, see you in the fall, and they don't have any opportunity to play, and now it's just to be able to get reps in. I think it's just a big deal. So I'm pumped about the ability to be able to play in the summer.
I think about baseball and the opportunities that college baseball players have. I mean, there's so many summer collegiate leagues, and it's always kind of surprised me that there wasn't anything like this for softball players. So it looks like the success they're having right now, maybe this is something down the road, multiple leagues start to form summer collegiate softball leagues.
Yeah, I hope so. It's just we've always thought that it was summer baseball. Those guys always have the carrot dangling in front of them of pro baseball. So they want to play as much as they want, or as much as they can, but and be in front of scouts and all that stuff. And the cool thing about the summer softball league is we don't really have that carrot dangling. There's the MPF, I guess, but they're playing because they want reps and because they want to, and that's just cool. It's just it's a cool thing to say, cool thing to see. And I'm not disparaging kids that don't play in it. I mean, I know Kaylee. I made a joke in our group text the other day that Kaylee, I can almost guarantee you, I haven't asked her about this, but I can guarantee you Kaylee has not looked at a softball in 2 months. Kaylee will be ready when she comes back. So it's whatever floats your boat, but it's cool to have the option to be able to play.
So 4 Hokies have played in this league sticking out right now, Coach. And let's start with Madi Banks. Actually, as we record on this Tuesday morning, June the 30th, last night, Madi had this walk-off late in this summer game. There was a couple of weekends ago, I think she had like 2 home runs in one day or one weekend. Looks like she's really taking advantage of the reps. Have you been keeping in touch with her and following along with her success?
Yeah, I'm following along for sure. I checked in about probably Friday with her, and that's the thing, is she's so on fire. I'm not telling her anything. Just keep going, keep playing. Just remember, and I'll tell her this, just remember what you feel like, because these hot streaks don't last forever. They go up and down, and where she's in right now, I mean, she needs to remember how that feels, and that's everybody that goes into a hot streak like that. So when things go down, you remember, and you have the confidence that you can do it. So I'm not telling her much right now. There's nothing I can tell her, but just go out and play.
And how about Morgan Overitis? We talked about her on the last podcast, but a transfer into Michigan, from Michigan, to Virginia Tech. Of course, I think you mentioned she had some connections to Jamie Bailey, and quickly seems like she's gotten to know her Hokie teammates. How has she done in Florida so far, and how pleased are you with what she's been able to do in her short time as a Hokie?
Yeah, I'm pleased with the reps that she's getting. I'm talking to her a little bit more than I do with Madi, just because Morgan's kind of she went in a lull a little bit, and it was all timing based. There's nothing wrong with her swing or anything. So I've been impressed with how receptive she is to coaching, even if it's just through text. So she's getting her reps in and doing what she needs to do.
And there are ways, Hokie softball fans, if you're looking for content, there are ways to stream and follow along on Game Changer, and it's a great opportunity to follow along and cheer on these Hokies.
Yeah, and your guy Gray is doing awesome down there. He's the YouTube play-by-play analyst, and yeah, you gotta give him props too. So tell him next time you talk to him.
He's going to be really happy to hear you say that. For those that follow along, he is one of the voices of Alabama softball, does the Out of the Box podcast, and he has a dream of doing a crossover podcast with us here at the Hokies Softball Podcast, Out of the Box. So he's a big fan of it.
We'll do it. I'm a fan of his too. You can tell him that. I
will absolutely tell him that. Yeah, but he's on the play-by-play, and I love that because very similar to myself, we just both have a love of softball, and he just he's from Alabama and just packed up and is in Florida for the summer calling those games, and he does a great job. So shout out to Gray Robertson, and there's more information as well. Actually, our the great SID for softball here, Tech Sean Torney, put out a release as a way to follow along and stay up to date with the Hokies down in Florida. Let's go ahead and transition now to some transfer news. New Hokie coming in to Blacksburg. Coach, want to spend some time talking about Alexa Milius transferring in from Central Connecticut State. She hit .334 in her first year. What is to like about Alexa, and help Hokie Nation get to know Alexa a little bit here on the podcast, if you will?
Yeah, well, first, you knocked off 30 points on her average. She hit .375 or .374 her freshman year, which even .334 would be pretty good.
What, Coach? I just misread my own handwriting. I'm
good, man.
Sorry.
You must have handwriting like me. You got handwriting like me. I can't read mine either. But, yeah, she emailed us when she went on the portal. I think it was early April. And at the time, our roster was just too full. And I emailed her back, and I said, hey, we don't know what's going to happen with our roster right now, but can you send me some film? And I kind of dropped the ball on her a little bit and didn't reply or anything for about a month. And then I went back to her and I said, hey, because we had a couple of kids leave the program, and I was looking for a quote unquote backup catcher. And I said, have you found a home yet? And she said no. And we just played a little bit back and forth, and she was interested. So you look at it and you see the skeptic is going to say, well, 375 at Central Connecticut, she can't hit. That's not good pitching. And I'm here to tell you that, 375 in Timbuktu League is hitting, So she's got the ability to swing the bat. She's got the ability to swing with power. She's good behind the plate. I watched a couple. She's playing for a fairly known summer league in Connecticut called the Breakettes, and she's hitting like 1,000 so far in 4 games, a couple home runs. And I tuned in and watched a couple games of hers, and she handles herself well behind the plate. But she's she's a gritty kid. She's from a small farm town or something in Connecticut. She has a job right now. She works hard. She's thankful. She just the type of personality that I look forward to welcoming into our program.
That's awesome. It sounds like she embodies everything Virginia Tech's about, as we talked about.
Yeah, she was just like, and just a hard worker, and just put her nose down and go work. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing her and how she does here.
And in the release too, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Coach, but she has not visited Virginia Tech in person yet. So I think it just speaks volumes just about the program and you and your staff and the players. I'm sure that's got to be a little bit of a leap of faith, right, to commit, but just to have the faith in the Zoom and that process to still commit.
It's huge. It's huge. And, when I first got to I got an opportunity to go to Mizzou when I was probably 26. And I committed to go out there sight unseen. So I know what it's like. I was like, you got to take the word of people that you trust. And so hopefully she trusts me, and you'll like it here. This place is awesome. So okay. So there's ways. Tech has a really good online virtual tour of campus. And I think she's seen that. If not, I'll send it to her. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I told her you're going to like it here. And sure enough. And there was a couple other schools on her radar that were in cities, and she's like, I don't like cities. And I said, well, you don't have to worry about the huge smog problem here because we don't have it. We have fog problem every once in a while, but not smog. So yeah, she's in.
Hey, if she doesn't like the city and she grew up on a farm, I can almost guarantee her, right? She's gonna be
I don't know if she grew up on a farm, but she just said she's from a small town. So I equate small towns to farm towns. I don't know if she's farm town or not, but we'll see.
Well, that's fantastic, and wishing a big Hokie welcome to Alexa and her family. And listen, I know that you hit 1,000 in the summer league. I don't need to write that stat down. 374. Apologies there. I'm going to work on my handwriting for the next podcast. So
all good.
Coach, any other softball related stuff we should hit before we dive right into story time with Uncle Pete and fun questions?
I can't think of anything right now. Everything's just to go. I saw our wonderful grounds guy, Derek Bowman, today, and he's still around and doing a good job with our field. So other than that, it's just business as usual.
How is Tech Softball Park looking right now for the fans who missed that wonderful place?
It's still there. It's looking good. So that's the grass is being cut and dirt's being tilled, I guess, and looks good. So actually, Coach Gillis had a bullpen out there about a month and a half ago. So he said that the mound is up to his standards. So he's got a high standard. So that's saying something.
That was actually where I was going to transition to our first fun question. Was
yep.
I know you've been taking a little bit of a hiatus now on Twitter, which I will say I do miss seeing your wonderful tweets on Twitter. But you had some great video of Coach Gillis out there throwing. Can we get a scouting report of how he looked?
Low stamina. Good stuff, low stamina. Get to the bullpen. Yeah, he throws about 20 minutes and shuts it down. But there was we got teased that there was a tournament in upstate Pennsylvania that we were thinking about going to play. So I say it would have been Coach Gillis, Coach Stover, and I, and that was going on last weekend, and Doug was thinking about going, and so, but we didn't end up going. But he's throwing and getting back into shape, and we'll see what happens.
If the three of you all play in a tournament, I want to be there and to broadcast it and to give it all the love I possibly can. Okay,
I'll let you know. I mean, there was rumors going around prior to all this virus stuff that there was going to be a league in Salem, a men's league in Salem. So whoever's watching in Blacksburg that used to play baseball or whatever, hit me up because we might play in that. So whenever the like I said, the gates open, and that league comes open, we might make an appearance.
I am all in on that.
Yeah.
I'm coming to watch. I'm going to be the number one supporter.
You just can't sit in the dugout and hear all the banter.
So nobody's going to be mic'd up, I take it that way.
No, you can't mic up a men's fast pitch game. There's no way.
Hey, speaking of being mic'd up, you had a recent appearance on Packer and Durham on the ACC Network. Got to ask, you were in the rocking chair, and I think that was one of the highlights of that. Question, can we do a Hokies Softball podcast when everything's maybe back to normal of just sitting across from each other in a rocking chair?
Let's do it. Let's do it at the Blacksburg Country Club. There's a good backdrop and all that. We can absolutely do that.
One thing about your interview too, it just feels like it's always a great interview when you go on. Packer and Durham, those guys, the preparation they do. They were talking to you about the golf courses in Blacksburg. It just feels like they really know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they do their homework, that's for sure.
And if you missed that, you can go at Hokies Softball on social media and check that out. But that was a fun interview. I feel like that you would get along with those guys too outside. You guys could hang out, go to lunch. They feel like fun people.
Yeah, they know their Blacksburg stuff. So that's you try to be, and you go. I go on these shows and I go through podcast. You just try to be yourself, and it's hopefully yourself doesn't get you in trouble. So hopefully yourself is entertaining enough for people to want to watch and not put you to sleep. So those guys do a good job. You do a good job. Lays does a good job. All you guys do.
Well, so it's funny you bring up Lays. This is a lot. Then we'll get into questions after this. I wrote a hashtag down on my prep sheet at the bottom. Hashtag Get Lays on Hokies Softball Podcast, because you guys just did a to the house, and I was just like, you two going back and forth. I could listen to that for hours.
Yeah, that's a comedy hour right there. That's off the charts. And that's I think we talked about this before, but Lays and I, when I first met him, we played in a golf tournament in Fredericksburg. So we drove all the way to Fredericksburg, and we played on the same team and just hit it off. You know, we're kind of similar in demeanors, and yeah. So we actually played golf together probably 2 weeks ago, and yeah.
Who are you guys about the same? I mean, I know that he's a pretty good golfer. You're a pretty good golfer. How'd it go?
This is how the same we were. We played 9, and we both tied. We were both +2.
Wow. All
so
right.
I three-putted the last hole, and I think he parred, and that tied us up.
All right. Well, that was another question I had on here. Let's check it off. How's the golf game been over the last month?
Well, night and day. Night and day. I actually shot a 79 last Friday. I gotta give a point to my sponsor, Mizuno. They don't really sponsor me; they sponsor our team. But I'm using a new Mizuno driver, Mizuno hybrid, and Mizuno putter, and I'm hitting the crap out of my driver like I was 23 years old again. And my hybrid too. I mean, I'm hitting my hybrid like 240. So it's when you hit the ball well off the tee, it opens up the game for you. You know, it's just you see what DeChambeau's doing on the tour. If you just smoke it, you got a better chance because they're closer to the hole. Just to, get it close and 2-putt. So golf game's coming around.
I wish I came out of quarantine looking like Bryson DeChambeau, putting on all that muscle. I mean, he looks like a different person right now.
No kidding. And I told my dad this the other day. When we went to the Masters last year, DeChambeau had like an errant approach shot, and I was probably 10 feet away from him, and it's like two different people. I see him on TV, and it's Hulk Hogan. And I saw him last year, and it was like he looked like me out there. He was some scrawny, tall guy. And so, yeah, so he's muscle man for sure right now.
I was watching the opening round of, I think, of the Travelers this past weekend. I don't know if you saw this. I just feel like this is the perfect representation of golf and the struggle that is. He hit his drive about 300 and somehow got it on a cart path and rolled about another 100 yards. So he's on a par 4. His drive ended up going about 415. He's got a short little chip, goes over the pin, ends up 3-putting in bogeys.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. I said, now you know how I feel.
Let's. I've got some rapid fire questions that are random and that are just gonna come your way, and they're all over the place. So, Coach,
okay.
First one here on our fun questions: would you rather hit a hole-in-one or throw a perfect game?
Throw a perfect game. Does that mean I'd be in the big leagues?
I like that. It's a good answer. All right,
hey, and I didn't. Did you see my tweet about my hole-in-one?
No, I missed that.
All right, so here's an audible for you. So I've got a hole 11 at the country club is probably 150 yards. And what's going on right now in the country club for social distancing is they have like a foam pool noodle at the bottom of the cup. Have you seen those?
I have pictures of them.
Yeah, so the ball can go in probably 2 inches in the hole, and you just go pick it up, so you don't have to take the flagstick out. So I got up there, hit an 8-iron, and it was kind of foggy. I couldn't see it very well, and I hit the ball, and I hear clank, and I said, all right. So I play a lot by myself, and I've always thought about what I would do if I hit a hole-in-one. And so I always have my phone out, so I started videoing the walk from the tee box to the hole. And I got up there, and the ball was probably 5 feet away, and I looked in the hole, and it didn't occur to me that the pool noodle was in there. So I looked around just to see if I could see a ball mark, because the green was kind of soft, and no ball mark. So in my mind, it hit the pool noodle, hit the stick, and came out. So that's what I'm saying, Evan.
Wow.
So I'm saying I got a hole-in-one. So it's probably not. People be like, nah, ain't a hole-in-one, whatever. But Yeah, so that happened, and yeah, so that's my quarantine hole-in-one.
Listen, if anybody ever gets that close, claim it. You got to claim that as a whole.
Yeah, I take it. So we'll see. But so that just goes to getting a perfect game.
Gotcha. And I'm realizing now some of these questions too I'm taking from the base-to-base questions that we've done.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Here. So, Coach, I'm going to ask you one that I have asked some. Let's just happen to say you're deserted on an island. You get stranded. You get one of your players to help get you off the island. Who would you pick?
Oh, my goodness. If it was the first name that comes to mind is Emma Strauss, but she doesn't play for me anymore, but I'd definitely take her.
That's a great pick.
Yeah, she'd kill a chicken for me, or she'd be hunting or something. I don't know, but that's the first one. Is I think Emma.
I think that's a good. She actually told me a story of her and Nolan, and I might be missing a couple of pieces of the story here, but essentially their freshman year they were at ACCs and they got in trouble for fishing in a pond.
I believe that, no question.
Something they were totally innocent. It was a mistake, and they got caught, and they were like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?" And they were, just fishing. So
I can see that. We're just fishing. I can see that.
That's a good one. Okay, how about this? You go to Camden Yards. What is your go-to order at the concession stands? What do you like to eat at a ballpark?
So Camden Yards, it used to be Boog's Barbecue. So when we were young, we go to Oriole games. It was, it's just Boog Powell used to have a barbecue joint. It was almost just like a tent. And Boog Powell used to play for the Orioles. He's a legend, and he used to have these big barbecue sandwiches that we used to get. But if it's now I go to a ballpark, it's probably, I don't know. How about the turkey leg from Lane Stadium? So some ballparks got to have that.
Have you had one before at Lane Stadium?
I have not.
I have not either. I have not.
Blasphemy.
I've heard you have to do it before you graduate. I've heard it's a must.
Yeah, I'll do it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I'll go ahead and say this: if you're in Lane Stadium, listen, you probably got to work out hard the next day. I'm not saying it's the most healthy option, but barbecue nachos at Lane Stadium, two thumbs up here. So
I think I've had those.
They're not bad, And listen, you can't go wrong with barbecue, right, at a game. I mean,
no, not at all.
Let's see here, Coach. Give me a movie, a show, a podcast, or a book. What are you watching or consuming right
now? Let's see. So, podcast. I listen a lot to a guy named Eric Cressey, who I think is the New York Yankees performance coach now. Really, really well-known performance coach around the country. Has been for a long time. So that's the podcast. TV show. We're watching a show on Netflix called Alone. So that's just finished that last night. So I got to finish something else or start something new now. Slacking on the book department. I haven't read that much lately. But yeah, those two, Cressey and Alone.
All right, good to know. Alone. I'll have to check that out on Netflix, I assume. So.
Yep.
All right, how about this? Baseball has announced it's coming back, 60-game season. You gonna watch? You excited?
No, not really. I mean, I'd rather watch your league.
I can make it happen.
I just, are there going to be fans?
We have 250
yeah.
maximum capacity right now.
In the big leagues, I don't know. I just, my interest in Major League Baseball has waned as I get older. It's just, it's not the game is slow thing compared to softball. It's more, if you watch on TV, it's more extracurricular than the game. And I've always said that. It's just like, I'm watching right now the 87 Tigers versus the Twins. And it's just stripped down baseball. If you see Tiger Stadium and you see the grass that they're playing on, would never fly today. It's just like, it's just a different game. And, and now it's curveballs in the dirt. Let's pick the ball up, give it to the umpire, throw it out. And back then they were like, oh, we got a scuff on it. Let's throw it back. So it's just like the game right now is just, I don't know. It's more flash than what I like.
That's one thing I've learned quickly, by the way, about being in Minnesota now my third summer, is the Twins are legendary, and that the 87 and 91 World Series teams, like I was listening on the radio this morning, I heard the radio call of the 87, 90. I mean, they love their Twins up here, Killebrew and Kirby Puckett, and a lot of good baseball during that era.
That was kind of, I mean, with 87, I was 7, so I was big into baseball then, and I was able to remember some of it. So Greg Gagney's sitting right now. I remember him, shortstop, and Gary Gaetti's the third baseman. And shoot, I lived in Maryland. I know those guys, so it's just it was just different back then. And I don't want to sound like the old fart, that's the game is, it's way better back then. It's not the game. It's just the presentation of the game I'd rather watch back then than now.
Well, I've got a better solution than watching Major League Baseball. You can watch Hokies in the Florida Gulf Coast League continue to play this summer collegiate softball. That is some entertaining stuff right now.
Heck of a lead-in, man. That was good. That was good.
I mean that wholeheartedly. Again, if you can go to @Hokies Softball and find ways to watch. Hey, Coach, last question for you. I know we brought him up. I wanted to close the podcast today. How is Coach Gillis doing? Can we just get an update on how the great Coach Gillis is?
He's good. He actually got a set of golf clubs. He got golf clubs, and he's playing on the campus course on campus. It's funny. He's got a new set of irons, and I say new very loosely. It's a set of irons that he used to use when he used to play, and he used to play 30 years ago. So it's brand new irons, but they're 30 years old. So, but he hits it good. If he hits his drive and play, then he's a force. So, but yeah, he's doing good. He's staying out of trouble, and I'll probably see him here in a little bit.
I do have a request, and I think those of Hokie Softball, Hokie Nation would probably agree with. When you come back to social media, can we get some Coach Gillis updates of you two on the course? I think that content we all need right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you need it or not, but yeah. When I'm back, then I'll do it.
Awesome, Coach. I always say when we do these podcasts, it's the fastest hour of the day. We just sit here and have a ton of fun. As always, thank you so much for your time. Any closing thoughts? Any story time? Anything we should do before we wrap up?
No, that's about it. Story time's kind of been limited. I might see my niece this weekend, so maybe I'll have some more stories for you.
That's one of my favorite stories of her getting to go to the George Mason or George Washington game.
Yeah.
That's a great story. So
yeah, she loved it. She probably forgot about softball since then, but we got to get her back into it. So she's learned how to ride a bike. So she got the little training wheels and all that. So the last time I saw her, my parents have a fairly long paved road or driveway, and she wanted to go back and forth and just race me. So I was on a bike and she was on the bike, and we probably did it 175,000 times, and she just doesn't get tired. So yeah, hopefully if I see her next time, I'll stretch before I get on the bike.
I think that's a trait. I should write this down. That's kind of a Hokie softball trait, the competitiveness. I mean,
yep.
You never start recruiting too young, right? I mean,
resiliency. Yeah, I'll have Whitney's kid and my niece, and yeah, we'll see. Get it going.
Like the class of 2040, whatever that would be. I mean,
I'll be in a cane. I'll be using
Coach will be playing in that fast pitch league in Salem, of course, coaching Tech and coaching his niece in Northern Virginia. He's going to be doing a little bit of everything.
Do it all, yeah. Make up for lost time.
I think we've figured out you can probably do it over Zoom, right? Through the last 3 months, there's ways to sign in.
Yeah, virtual at-bats on Zoom.
Well, Coach, I know seriously, I mean, everybody we really appreciate your time and your willingness to come on and be so open. I love doing these. I can't wait for our next one. I can't wait to be back in person, fingers crossed, doing them very soon. So thanks so much.
All right, Evan, you got it. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Coach Demore, Evan Hughes, Hokies Softball Podcast. Thanks so much for watching. A reminder to follow Virginia Tech Softball on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter at Hokies Softball. Coach Demore, I'm Evan Hughes. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.